I was holding a photograph I was never meant to see when my hands began to shake so badly I had to sit on the floor. In that moment, I understood something terrifying. My husband didn't just leave me for another woman. He left because what I was about to discover would change my life forever and destroy everything he had been hiding. Before I continue, let me quickly say this. If you love emotional real-life stories filled with betrayal, secrets, and unexpected strength, please subscribe to this channel, like this video, and turn on your notifications so you don't miss stories like this. Also, tell me in the comments which country you are watching from. I want to know who is listening with me today. Now let me take you back to how all this began. My husband left on a quiet morning. No shouting. No fight. No warning. He stood by the door with a small bag and said, "I'm leaving you. I found someone else." I thought I was going to faint. I asked him why. I asked him what I did wrong. He didn't look at me. He only said, "I'm not happy anymore." Then he walked out. The door closed. And just like that, my marriage ended. Or so I believed. The house felt empty in a way I had never felt before. I walked from room to room, touching the walls, the chairs, the table where we once ate together. Everything felt cold. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the clock tick, replaying his words over and over in my head. I truly believed I had lost everything. By morning, my eyes were swollen from crying. I decided to clean the house, just to keep my mind busy. That's when I noticed something strange. A door that was always locked was slightly open. My heart began to race. That room had always been off limits. Every time I asked about it, he would say it was private and I should not go inside. I stood there staring at the door, telling myself to walk away. But something pulled me forward. I pushed the door open. Inside, the room smelled old and dusty. Boxes were stacked against the wall. Papers were spread across a small table. And in the middle of it all sat a metal case. My hands were shaking as I opened the first folder. Bank papers. Property papers. Documents with dates that went back years. None of them had ever been shown to me. My chest felt tight. Then I opened the metal case. Inside was a photograph. Just one. My husband was smiling in it, standing next to another woman, holding a child in his arms. At first, I couldn't breathe. But then I saw the date written on the back of the photo. The date was from years ago. Years before he said he was unhappy. Years before I suspected anything was wrong. That was the moment my heart truly broke. He didn't leave me suddenly. He had been living a second life while sharing a home with me. I sank to the floor, the photograph slipping from my hands. My whole body felt numb. As I tried to stand, I heard something that made my blood run cold. The front door opened. Footsteps entered the house. Slow. Careful. Someone was coming toward me. And in that moment, I realized that finding the truth might cost me more than my marriage. I stayed frozen on the floor, my eyes locked on the doorway, my heart beating so loudly I was sure whoever had entered the house could hear it. The photograph lay beside my hand. I didn't pick it up. I couldn't. The footsteps moved slowly through the living room, not rushed, not careless. Whoever it was knew exactly where they were going. My mind raced. My husband had already left. He had taken his bag. He had said he was done. So who was walking into my house like they belonged there? I pushed myself up quietly and stood, my legs shaking so badly I had to hold the table for support. Then a voice spoke. "Why are you in here?" It was him. My husband. I felt anger rush through me so fast it almost knocked the fear away. "You left," I said. "You walked out. You don't get to ask me that." He stood in the doorway, looking at the open folders, the metal case, the photograph on the floor. His face changed. Not shock. Not anger. Fear. Pure fear. "You weren't supposed to see any of this," he whispered. That sentence told me everything. I bent down, picked up the photograph, and held it up so he couldn't avoid it. Explain, I said. His shoulders dropped like a man who had been caught in a lie too heavy to carry anymore. I was going to tell you one day, he said. I laughed, but it didn't sound like laughter. When? I asked. After you took everything and disappeared? He stepped into the room and closed the door behind him. That scared me. Don't, I said. He stopped, holding his hands up. I'm not here to hurt you, he said. I just need to talk. You've had years to talk, I replied. All you did was lie. He looked down at the floor. I never meant for it to go this far, he said. My hands trembled. You had another woman, I said. Another child. How much farther did you think it could go? He didn't answer right away. Then he said something that made my chest tighten. She wasn't supposed to mean anything at first. At first. So I was the practice life, I said. And she was the real one? That's not what I meant, he said quickly. But that's what you did, I replied. I picked up the documents and flipped through them in front of him. What are these? I asked. Why are there bank accounts and properties I've never heard of? He swallowed hard. I was planning for the future, he said. Our future? I asked. He hesitated. That hesitation hurt more than any answer. You were planning to leave me with nothing, I said quietly. No, he said. I was trying to protect myself. I nodded slowly. At least now you're telling the truth. My legs felt weak, so I sat on the edge of the table. Did she know about me? I asked. Yes, he admitted. Did she know about the house? The money? I asked. He hesitated again. She knows what I told her, he said. I closed my eyes. You made me sound useless, didn't you? I said. Like I depended on you for everything. He didn't deny it. That silence broke something inside me. I stood up and walked past him into the hallway. I need air, I said. He followed me. Please, he said. We can fix this. I turned around sharply. No, I said. You don't fix years of lies. You survive them. He reached for my arm. I pulled away. Don't touch me, I said. He stepped back. I made mistakes, he said. Mistakes are accidents, I replied. This was a plan. We stood there in silence. Then I asked the question that had been burning inside me. Why come back? I asked. You already left. He looked nervous. I forgot something, he said. My heart sank. You came back for these, I said, pointing toward the secret room. He didn't answer. That answer was enough. I walked back into the room and began gathering the documents, stuffing them into a bag. What are you doing? He asked, panic rising in his voice. Protecting myself, I said. You can't take those, he said. Watch me, I replied. He stepped closer. If you show those to anyone, he said quietly, it will ruin everything. I looked him straight in the eyes. You already ruined everything, I said. His face hardened. You don't understand what you're dealing with, he said. That sentence sent a chill through me. What does that mean? I asked. He didn't answer. Instead, his phone buzzed. He looked at the screen and went pale. Who is it? I asked. No one, he said too quickly. I stepped closer. Let me see it. He shook his head. You shouldn't be involved in this, he said. My stomach dropped. Involved in what? Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. 3 slow knocks. We both froze. He looked at me, his face full of fear. Do not open that door, he whispered. My heart pounded. Why? I asked. Because, he said, his voice shaking, if they see you, everything will change. I stared at the door, my mind racing. Who was outside? And why did my husband look more afraid of them than he had ever looked of losing me? The knocking came again. Slow. Heavy. Certain. My heart was beating so fast it felt like it might burst out of my chest. My husband grabbed my arm. "Please," he whispered. "Whatever you do, don't open that door." I looked at his hand on my arm. This was the same man who walked out on me without looking back. The same man who hid another life behind my back. The same man who lied for years without fear. And now he was shaking. I pulled my arm away. "You don't get to tell me what to do anymore," I said. The knocking stopped. Silence filled the house. The kind of silence that feels louder than noise. Then a voice spoke from the other side of the door. "Open up," the voice said. "We know you're home." My stomach dropped. I looked at my husband. His face was pale. His lips were dry. "Who is that?" I asked. He swallowed hard. "They're here for the papers," he said quietly. My heart skipped. "The papers I just found?" I asked. He nodded. "And if I open that door?" I asked. He didn't answer. That was enough. I walked to the door. My hand hovered over the handle. "Don't," he whispered behind me. I opened it. Two people stood outside. Not dressed like police. Not dressed like friends. Just ordinary-looking people with serious eyes. One of them smiled, but it didn't reach their eyes. "We're here to collect something," the taller one said. I crossed my arms. "From who?" I asked. They looked past me into the house. "From him," they said. My husband stepped back like he'd been caught stealing. "There's nothing here," he said quickly. "You made a mistake." The shorter one laughed softly. "We don't make mistakes," they said. "We were told the documents were here." My chest tightened. "What documents?" I asked. They looked at me then. Really looked at me. Their eyes paused on my face, then moved to the bag in my hand. The one filled with papers from the secret room. The taller one smiled again. "You must be the wife," they said. That word felt strange in my ears. "Was," I replied. The shorter one stepped closer. "You shouldn't be involved in this," they said. "It's not safe." I felt anger rise. "Nothing about my life has been safe for years," I said. "So you might as well speak clearly." They exchanged a look. Then the taller one sighed. "He owes money," they said. "A lot of it." My husband shouted. "Don't say anything." But it was too late. "Owes money to who?" I asked. The shorter one smiled thinly. "People who don't like waiting." My stomach twisted. "You used my name, didn't you?" I asked my husband. He didn't answer. "You signed things in my name," I said louder. "Didn't you?" One of them nodded. "He did," they said calmly. "And that's why this concerns you too." My knees felt weak. "So you're here for me?" I asked. "For what's connected to you," they replied. I took a slow breath. "These papers," I said, holding up the bag, "belong to me now." The taller one tilted their head. "You don't understand," they said. "Those papers decide who carries the burden." I stared at them. "And you thought I wouldn't notice?" I asked. They didn't answer. Instead, they stepped inside the house without asking. My husband panicked. "You said you wouldn't come here," he said. "You promised." The shorter one laughed. "You promised a lot of things," they replied. None of them came true. I felt something shift inside me. Fear was still there. But it wasn't in control anymore. "You need to leave," I said. They turned to look at me, surprised. "Excuse me?" the taller one asked. "This is my house," I said. "And you're trespassing." They stared at me for a long moment. Then the shorter one said, "You're braver than he said." That sentence made my blood run cold. "He talked about me?" I asked. "Oh yes," they said. "He said you wouldn't notice. He said you trusted easily." I clenched my fists. He was wrong. I said. My husband suddenly dropped to his knees. I'll fix it, he begged. I'll get the papers back. Just give me time. The taller one looked down at him with disgust. You had time, they said. You wasted it. Then they looked at me again. You should be careful, they said softly. Once you're part of this, there's no walking away. I stepped forward. I didn't walk into this, I said. It walked into my life without my consent. Silence filled the room. For a moment, no one moved. Then the shorter one nodded. Interesting, they said. Very interesting. They turned toward the door. We'll be back, they said. One way or another. And then they left. The door closed. The house felt colder. My husband stayed on the floor, shaking. What have you done? He whispered. I looked at him. No, I said. What have you done? He covered his face. They won't stop, he said. You don't know them. I picked up the bag of documents and held it tight. Then I'll learn, I said. I walked into the bedroom and locked the door behind me. My hands were shaking again, but my mind was clear. I pulled out the documents one by one. And then I saw something that made my heart stop. A contract. With my name on it. And a deadline written in bold letters at the bottom. The date was close. Very close. I realized then that my husband didn't just betray me. He set a clock on my life. And it was already ticking. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the contract until the words blurred. My name was printed clearly at the top. Not typed wrong. Not misspelled. Mine. Below it was a signature that looked exactly like mine. But wasn't. My chest felt tight. I pressed my hand against it and tried to breathe. There was a deadline written at the bottom. Very close. Too close. That was when I understood something terrifying. This wasn't just about money. This wasn't just about lies. This was about timing. And time was almost gone. I locked the bedroom door and slid down until my back hit it. Outside, the house was quiet. Too quiet. My husband hadn't spoken since the strangers left. I could still picture him on the floor, shaking, afraid, not of losing me, but of losing control. I stood up and hid the papers deep inside my bag. Then I heard him knock softly. Please, he said through the door. We need to talk. I didn't answer. I never wanted it to go this far, he continued. I was trying to fix things. Fix things. I laughed quietly to myself. You don't fix lies by adding more lies. He knocked again. They'll come back, he said, his voice cracking. If you don't give them what they want, they'll come back. I opened the door just enough to look at him. What do they want? I asked. He looked away. You, he whispered. My blood ran cold. What do you mean, me? They used your name, he said. They won't let it go easily. I stared at him. You put me in danger, I said slowly. I didn't think, he started. You never think, I said. You plan. You hide. You lie. He sank into a chair, covering his face. I thought I could handle it, he said. I thought I could walk away before it exploded. I shook my head. You didn't walk away, I said. You lit the fire and ran. That night, I barely slept. Every sound made me sit up. Every shadow felt like movement. I kept checking the window, the door, my phone. Nothing. But the fear didn't leave. By morning, my body felt heavy, but my mind was sharp. I knew one thing. If I stayed still, I would lose. So I moved. I waited until he left the house. He said he needed air. I didn't stop him. The moment the door closed behind him, I grabbed my bag and left too. I went to the one place he never wanted me to go. The place where lies are tested. I sat across from a desk and laid everything out. The papers. The contract. The forged signature. I told the story slowly, carefully, leaving nothing out. The person listening didn't interrupt. They only asked one question when I finished. Do you feel safe right now? I hesitated. Then I shook my head. No, I said. I don't. Their face hardened. That's what I was afraid of, they said. They explained what the contract meant. What could happen if nothing was done? What kind of people were usually involved in things like this? Each word felt like another stone placed on my chest. But, they said, leaning forward, there's something you need to know. I looked up. This document isn't complete, they said. Someone else had to sign it too. My heart skipped. Who? I asked. They didn't answer right away. They slid another paper toward me. I looked down and felt the room spin, because the second name on that document was someone I trusted. Someone who had comforted me when my husband left. Someone who told me I was strong. Someone who knew where everything was. My hands started shaking again. No, I whispered. That can't be right. They nodded slowly. It is, they said. And that person is still very close to you. I left that building feeling like the ground wasn't real anymore. The betrayal had grown. First my husband. Now this. I walked back toward my house, my heart pounding with every step. As I reached the door, something felt wrong. The door was unlocked. I knew I locked it. I stepped inside slowly. The house was quiet. But things were moved. A chair out of place. A drawer slightly open. Someone had been there. I walked toward the secret room. The door was wide open. And the metal case was gone. My phone buzzed in my hand. A message appeared on the screen. You were warned. I looked around the empty room, my heart racing. Because now I knew. They weren't just watching me. They were already inside my life. I stood in the doorway of the secret room, staring at the empty space where the metal case used to be. My heart was pounding so hard it hurt. They had been inside my house. Not hours ago. Not yesterday. Recently. I walked slowly from room to room, checking everything. Drawers were open. Papers were missing. Even the trash had been searched. I felt exposed. Like my life was laid out in front of strangers who knew more about me than I knew about them. I locked the door and leaned against it, trying to calm my breathing. That's when the fear finally hit me. Real fear. Not heartbreak. Not sadness. Danger. I sat on the couch and hugged my bag to my chest, the remaining documents pressed tightly inside. I kept thinking about the second name on that contract. Someone I trusted. Someone who had looked me in the eyes and told me everything would be okay. Every kind word they ever said now felt fake. Every hug felt like a lie. I asked myself one painful question. How long had they been watching me? My phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't a message. It was a call. Unknown number. I stared at the screen, my finger hovering. Then I answered. Hello. I said quietly. A calm voice replied. You shouldn't have gone looking for answers. My stomach dropped. Who is this? I asked. You already know, the voice said. You just don't want to accept it yet. My hand started shaking. Why were you in my house? I demanded. There was a short pause. To protect what belongs to us, the voice said. It doesn't belong to you, I snapped. A soft laugh came through the phone. It does now, the voice replied. I stood up. You forged my name, I said. You broke the law. Another pause. Then the voice said something that made my knees weak. You signed more than you think. I felt dizzy. That's not true, I whispered. You trusted easily, the voice said. That made things simple. I thought back. The papers I signed without reading. The times I was told, it's nothing important. The moments I believed instead of checking. My chest tightened. "What do you want?" I asked. "To finish what was started," the voice replied. "And for you to stop fighting." The call ended. I sat back down slowly. My hands were cold. My whole body felt heavy. They weren't just trying to scare me. They were confident. That scared me more than threats. I realized something important in that moment. If I stayed quiet, they would erase me. If I stayed silent, I would lose everything. So I did the one thing they didn't expect. I reached out for help. I went back to the place where truth is checked against facts. I told them everything. The break-in, the call, the threats. They listened carefully. One of them leaned forward and said, "You did the right thing coming back." "But is it too late?" I asked. They looked at each other, then back at me. "Not yet," they said. "But time matters." They explained that the deadline on the contract was closer than I thought. Very close. If they complete this, they said, undoing it will be much harder. My heart raced. What do I do? I asked. They handed me a phone number. "Call this," they said. "And don't ignore any more warnings." That evening, I returned home with a strange feeling. The house felt different. Not safe. Not mine. I packed a small bag. Just essentials. I didn't know if I would be coming back. As I zipped the bag, I noticed something on the table. An envelope. White. Clean. With my name written on it. My heart skipped. I hadn't seen it before. My hands shook as I picked it up. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Just one sentence written in dark ink. "You have until tomorrow." I looked at the time on my phone. Late evening. Less than 1 day. I sat down slowly, the room spinning. Because now I understood. They weren't just watching me anymore. They were counting down. And whatever happened tomorrow would decide whether I kept my life or lost everything forever. I didn't sleep at all that night. I sat on the edge of the bed, fully dressed, my bag beside me, my phone in my hand. Every sound made my heart jump. Every shadow felt like someone moving. "You have until tomorrow." Those words kept repeating in my head. Tomorrow for them meant control. Tomorrow for me meant losing everything. I checked the locks again. Then again. I kept asking myself the same question. How did my life turn into this? Just days ago, my biggest fear was being alone. Now my fear was something much darker. When morning finally came, the light through the window didn't bring comfort. It only reminded me that time was moving. I made myself stand up. I washed my face. I took a deep breath. And I made a decision. I was not going to wait for them to finish whatever they planned. I was going to move first. I left the house early. I didn't take my car. I walked. I kept my head down, watching reflections in windows, listening to footsteps behind me. I didn't know who to trust anymore. Not friends. Not family. Not even my own memories. Every time my phone buzzed, my heart stopped. But it stayed quiet. Too quiet. When I arrived at the office, they were already expecting me. They could see it on my face. "You got the message," one of them said. I nodded. "They broke into my house," I said. "They took things. They called me. That changed everything." They closed the door. What they told me next made my hands go cold. They explained that the contract was part of something bigger. Something carefully planned. Something designed to move fast once it reached the final stage. "And tomorrow?" I asked quietly. "What happens tomorrow?" They exchanged a look. "If it goes through," one of them said, "your name becomes the anchor." My chest tightened. "Anchor for what?" I asked. "For all the risk," they replied. "All the loss. All the blame." I felt sick. "So they walk away," I said. "And I fall." "Yes," they said. "That was the plan." I sat there in silence, trying to understand how the man I married could have done this to me. Not just cheated, not just lied, but planned to use my life as a shield. They counted on one thing, the other person said. What? I asked. That you would stay quiet, they replied. I shook my head. They misjudged me, I said. They gave me options. None of them were easy. One meant stepping fully into the fight. Another meant running and hoping it wasn't too late. I chose the fight. If I stop this, I asked, what happens to them? There was a pause. They won't forgive you, they said. I nodded. They already haven't. When I left the office, my phone buzzed. A message. From him. My husband. Please talk to me. I can fix this. My hands shook with anger. Fix this. I typed back only 3 words. Stay away from me. The reply came fast. You don't understand how dangerous this is. I stared at the screen. Then I typed the truth. I understand now. I blocked the number. On my way back, something felt wrong. Too quiet again. I slowed my steps. I saw it then. A car moving slowly behind me. Not passing. Not stopping. Following. My heart started racing. I turned a corner. The car turned too. I crossed the street. So did the car. I broke into a fast walk, then a run. My breath burned. I ducked into a crowded place and didn't look back. When I finally stopped, shaking and breathless, the car was gone. But the message was clear. They were close. I didn't go home. I went somewhere safe. Somewhere they wouldn't expect. As I sat there, trying to calm my breathing, my phone buzzed again. A new message. Unknown number. Running won't save you. Then another message followed. Check your email. My fingers felt numb as I opened it. There was one new message. No subject. Just an attachment. I opened it. And my heart stopped. It was proof. Clear proof. Everything they had done. Everything my husband had signed. Everything that tied my name to their plan. And at the bottom of the page, there was a new signature. Dated today. Not mine. But someone else's. Someone who had no right to be involved at all. I felt the blood drain from my face. Because now I knew. They weren't done yet. They were still adding names. Still expanding the trap. And I was running out of time. I stared at the screen until my eyes burned. The attachment was still open. The new signature was still there. Fresh. Clear. Real. Someone else had been pulled into this trap. Someone who never should have been. My hands began to shake so badly I had to put the phone down. This wasn't stopping. It was growing. I sat very still and tried to think. Running hadn't helped. Hiding hadn't helped. Every step I took, they were already ahead of me. I remembered something one of the officials said earlier. They counted on you staying quiet. That was the key. They were afraid of noise. They were afraid of light. I picked up my phone again and opened my messages. There was one unread message I had ignored before. From someone I almost forgot about. Someone who used to visit often. Someone who always asked questions about our life. Someone who always said they were just curious. My heart tightened. Slowly, pieces started to fit together. Too neatly. I typed a simple message. Did you know? The reply came almost instantly. Know what? My stomach dropped. That was not the answer of someone confused. That was the answer of someone pretending. I typed again. About the papers. About my name. There was a long pause. The typing dots appeared. Then disappeared. Then appeared again. Finally, a message came. I didn't think it would hurt you. That was it. That was the moment the truth landed fully. Someone close to me didn't just know. They helped. I felt dizzy. I stood up too fast and had to grab the edge of the table to stay upright. How many? I whispered to myself. How many people knew while I didn't? I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I forced myself to breathe. This wasn't the time to fall apart. This was the time to be smart. I wrote back carefully. We need to talk. In person. Another pause. Then. Is that safe? I almost laughed. Safe. Nothing had been safe for a long time. Yes, I replied. Tonight. The message was read. No reply. That silence told me everything. As the day moved slowly forward, my phone kept buzzing. Unknown numbers. Missed calls. Voicemails I didn't listen to. They were pushing. Trying to scare me back into silence. Instead, it hardened my resolve. When evening came, I went to a public place. Bright lights. People everywhere. Cameras watching. If they wanted to approach me, they would have to do it in the open. I sat down and waited. My heart was pounding, but my face stayed calm. After a few minutes, someone sat across from me. They didn't look at me at first. Then they spoke. You shouldn't have involved yourself so deeply. I felt something snap inside me. You involved me, I said quietly. You used my name. They sighed. He said it was temporary, they said. He said it would never come back to you. I leaned forward. And you believed him? They looked away. I trusted him, they said. That word burned. So did I replied. I took out my phone and placed it on the table. I know about the second signature, I said. I know about the calls. The visits. The break-in. Their face changed. Fear finally appeared. You don't understand what you're doing, they whispered. These people don't lose. I met their eyes. Neither do I said. Not anymore. They reached for my hand. I pulled back. Listen, they said urgently. If you expose this, it won't just hurt him. I waited. It will hurt you, they finished. I stood up. I'm already hurt, I said. The difference is, now I'm awake. I turned to leave. Behind me, they spoke one last sentence. They won't let you finish this. I stopped walking. Without turning around, I replied. Then they should have stopped me sooner. That night, I received one final message. No threat. No warning. Just 5 words. This ends tomorrow. Choose. I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. Because tomorrow wasn't just a deadline anymore. Tomorrow was a showdown. And whatever choice I made, someone's life was about to collapse. I didn't reply to the message. This ends tomorrow. Choose. They wanted fear. They wanted panic. They wanted me to beg. So I gave them silence. That night, I didn't lie down. I sat by the window and watched the street until the sky began to change color. Every car that passed made my heart jump. Every shadow felt closer than the last. Tomorrow wasn't just coming. It was waiting. When morning arrived, I felt strangely calm. Not because I was brave, but because I was tired of being scared. I stood up, packed everything I had into one small bag, and left the place I was hiding. I didn't look back. That life was already gone. As I walked, memories followed me. The way my husband used to smile when he thought I wasn't watching. The way he told me, trust me, every time something didn't feel right. The way I ignored my own doubts because I loved him. Love had made me blind. But pain had opened my eyes. I went straight to the place I had avoided for years. The place where words are written down and never disappear. I sat across from a desk and placed everything in front of them. The contract. The messages. The threats. The proof. I spoke slowly, carefully, telling the story from the beginning. Not just about the money. About the lies. About the second life. about how my name was used without my consent. They listened without interrupting. When I finished, the room was quiet. Then one of them said something I wasn't ready to hear. "You're not the only one." My head snapped up. "What do you mean?" I asked. They leaned forward. "There are others," they said. "Different names. Different stories. Same pattern." My chest tightened. "So this is bigger than me," I whispered. They nodded. "And now," they continued, "they know you're willing to speak." I swallowed. "Is that bad?" I asked. "It's dangerous," they said honestly. "But it's also powerful." When I stepped outside, my phone buzzed again. A call. I almost didn't answer. But I did. His voice came through, shaky and desperate. "You don't understand what you're doing," he said. "They won't forgive you." I laughed softly. "They never forgave me either," I replied. "Please," he said. "We can still fix this." I closed my eyes. "You fixed this when you left," I said. "You just didn't know it yet." I hung up. As the day went on, the pressure increased. More calls. More messages. More warnings. They promised consequences. They promised regret. But they never denied the truth. That told me everything. By evening, I was exhausted. I sat alone, watching the sun go down, waiting for whatever came next. Then my phone buzzed one last time. A message. "If you go through with this, you won't be safe." I stared at the screen. Then I typed back 3 words. "I already am." Minutes later, I heard footsteps. Close. Too close. I looked up. Someone was standing across the street, watching me. Not hiding. Not pretending. Just watching. My heart pounded, but I didn't run. I stood up. If this was the moment they wanted to scare me into silence, they had waited too long. Because I wasn't choosing fear anymore. I was choosing the truth. And once the truth is spoken out loud, it never goes back into the dark. The person across the street didn't move. They just stood there, watching me like I was part of a plan that had already been written. Cars passed. People walked by. Life went on. But my world felt frozen. I took a slow step forward. They didn't stop me. I took another step. Still nothing. That's when I understood something important. They weren't there to grab me. They were there to remind me that I was being watched. I turned and walked away calmly, even though my heart was beating so hard it hurt. I didn't want them to see fear. Fear was what they fed on. I didn't go home. I went somewhere public, crowded, bright. I sat down and tried to slow my breathing. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was not a threat. It was a location. No message. Just an address. My hands tightened around the phone. They wanted me to come to them. They wanted to talk. That was dangerous. But it was also a chance. If I didn't go, they would keep chasing me. If I did go, I might finally hear the truth. I stared at the address for a long time. Then I stood up. The place was quiet. Too quiet. Not a cafe. Not an office. Just an empty building with lights on inside. I hesitated at the door. Every instinct told me to turn around. But then I remembered the contract. The signatures. The deadline. I pushed the door open. Inside, there were 2 people sitting at a table. And my husband was there too. He looked smaller than I remembered. Not confident. Not in control. Just scared. "You shouldn't be here," he said when he saw me. I didn't answer. I looked at the others. "You asked me to come," I said. "So talk." One of them smiled slowly. "We wanted to see if you were smart enough to show up," they said. I crossed my arms. "You used my name," I said. "You broke into my house. You threatened me." They nodded like I was listing simple facts. "Yes, one of them said. And you reacted exactly how we expected. My stomach tightened. You planned this, I said. Everything, they replied. My husband spoke again. I tried to stop them, he said weakly. I looked at him. You started this, I said. Don't pretend to be a victim now. He looked away. One of them leaned forward. Here's the truth, they said. Your name was valuable. I felt sick. Because people trust you, they continued. Because you sign things without suspicion. Because no one would believe you were part of something wrong. I clenched my fists. So you thought I'd stay quiet, I said. Yes, they replied. Most people do. And when I didn't? I asked. They smiled. Then you became a problem. I took a deep breath. You can't force me to carry this, I said. There's proof. They didn't look worried. Proof disappears, one of them said. People disappear too. My heart skipped. My husband jumped up. Leave her alone, he shouted. They looked at him like he was nothing. You don't get a voice anymore, they said. I realized something then. They weren't afraid of the truth. They were afraid of timing. They needed the deadline to pass. They needed tomorrow. I stepped closer to the table. You think I came here unprepared? I asked. They looked at me sharply. I talked. I continued. I shared everything. Copies. Messages. Documents. That was a lie. But they didn't know that. For the first time, doubt crossed their faces. What did you do? One asked. I met their eyes. I made noise, I said. Silence filled the room. One of them stood up. You're bluffing, they said. Try me, I replied. My phone buzzed in my hand. A message came through. Not from them. From someone else. Just 3 words. We are ready. My heart nearly stopped. Because suddenly, the balance shifted. I didn't know how this would end. I didn't know who would walk away free. But I knew one thing for sure. Tomorrow wasn't theirs anymore. And whatever happened next would expose everything. The room went quiet after my phone buzzed. We are ready. Those 3 words changed everything. The 2 people across the table exchanged a quick look. It was small, but I saw it. A crack. Just for a second. They were no longer completely in control. My husband stared at my phone like it might explode. What did you do? He whispered. I didn't answer him. I kept my eyes on the others. You said proof disappears, I said calmly. You said people stay quiet. One of them leaned back in their chair. And you think a message changes that? They asked. I lifted my phone slightly. It means I'm not alone anymore, I replied. Silence pressed down on the room. Heavy. Thick. They stood up slowly. You're making a mistake, one of them said. You don't know how deep this goes. I nodded. That's why I spoke, I said. Depth doesn't scare me anymore. My husband suddenly stood up too. Please, he said to them. Let me fix this. I can still help. They didn't even look at him. You already failed, one of them said coldly. That's why we're here. His shoulders slumped. That was the moment I truly saw him. Not as my husband. Not even as a liar. But as a man who thought he was smarter than consequences. I turned toward the door. I'm leaving, I said. One of them stepped into my path. You walk out now, they said, and you don't walk back into your old life. I looked straight at them. My old life is already gone, I said. They stared at me for a long moment. Then they stepped aside. Outside, the air felt colder. Cleaner. Like the world didn't know what almost happened inside that building. I walked fast. I didn't look back. My phone buzzed again. Another message. Stay where you are. Do not go home. I followed the instructions. I went somewhere public. Bright lights. People everywhere. Noise. Safety. I sat down and finally allowed myself to breathe. My hands were shaking now. Not from fear. From release. Minutes passed. Then my phone rang. A number I recognized. The place where truth doesn't get ignored. Everything you shared checks out, the voice said. And what you warned us about. It's moving faster than we expected. My heart jumped. What does that mean? I asked. It means they're scrambling, the voice replied. And scrambling people make mistakes. I closed my eyes. So it's working. Yes, they said. But you need to understand something. My chest tightened. What? They know you spoke, the voice said. And they won't stop until the deadline passes. Tomorrow. It was always tomorrow. That night, I didn't sleep. Again. But this time, I wasn't alone with fear. I was alone with purpose. I replayed every moment of my marriage. Every time I was told to trust. Every time I ignored doubt. Every time I stayed quiet to keep peace. Peace had cost me everything. Truth was giving it back. Just before sunrise, my phone buzzed again. A message. From an unknown number. You crossed a line. I didn't reply. Another message followed. Last chance. Walk away. I stared at the screen. Then I typed slowly. I already chose. A few minutes later, my phone rang. It was my husband. I almost didn't answer. But I did. His voice was broken. They're blaming me, he said. They say I dragged you into this. I laughed softly. You dragged me into this years ago, I said. Today, I just stood up. They're going to destroy me, he said. I was quiet for a moment. Then I spoke the truth. You destroyed yourself, I said. I just stopped covering for you. He cried. I didn't. I hung up. As the sun rose, my phone buzzed one last time. Not a threat. Not a warning. An update. Action will be taken today. My heart raced. Because I knew what that meant. Everything was about to come out. Names. Papers. Truths buried for years. And once it started, there would be no stopping it. I looked out at the busy street, people walking past without knowing that my life, and many others, was about to explode into the open. Tomorrow was supposed to end this for them. But now, tomorrow belonged to the truth. The call came just after sunrise. I was sitting by the window, watching people rush to work, living normal lives, unaware that mine was about to change forever. I answered without speaking. We're moving now, the voice said. Everything you gave us is being used. My heart pounded. So it's over? I asked. There was a short pause. It's begun, they replied. And it won't stop. I closed my eyes. For the first time since my husband walked out that door, I felt something close to peace. By mid-morning, the world started reacting. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Messages. Missed calls. Voicemails. Some were confused. Some were angry. Some were scared. Names I hadn't heard in years suddenly mattered again. The network I was told didn't exist. Existed. The signatures I was told were harmless. Weren't. And my name, the one they thought they could use quietly, became the reason everything unraveled. I finally turned on the news. There it was. Not my face. Not my story. But the truth. Documents revealed. Deals frozen. Investigations announced. They spoke in careful words, but I understood every line. This was real. This was happening. And it was because I refused to stay silent. My husband called again. I didn't answer at first. Then I did. They took everything, he said, his voice empty. Accounts. Property. Even the people I trusted are gone. I listened quietly. You ruined my life, he said. I took a slow breath. No, I replied. You built your life on my silence. I just took it back. He didn't speak again. The call ended. And so did the last piece of the man I thought I knew. That afternoon, I went back to the house one final time. Not to cry. Not to remember. But to close the door properly. I walked through each room slowly. The kitchen where I once waited. The living room where I made excuses for him. The bedroom where I blamed myself for his distance. Then I stood in front of the secret room. The room that started everything. It was empty now. No boxes. No papers. No lies left to hide. I smiled for the first time in a long time. As the sun began to set, I stepped outside with one small bag. Not because I had nothing left, but because I was choosing what to take forward. I didn't lose my life when my husband left. I found it. I found my voice. I found my strength. I found the truth. And the truth changed everything. If you're listening to this and you've ever felt small, ignored, or trapped by someone else's lies, remember this. Silence protects the guilty. Truth protects you. If this story moved you, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications so you don't miss more powerful, emotional stories like this one. And tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? Your voice matters more than you think. Because sometimes, the moment everything falls apart, is the exact moment your real life begins.